People wonder why kids run away from home. Well, I have a lot of experience with that because I was a foster parent for troubled youth, and many of them ran away. And I was a parent on the world's strictest parents back in 2009, where Hannah and James came to stay in my home for 8 days and they ran away multiple times. We're talking 5 times. So in this reaction video, I'm going to be talking about why people run away as we look at some of these naughty behaviors. Did not want to do school, and even though Hannah kind of got into it for a while, she started following his example and they started running away. So day 2 brought running away, lots of running away, and so that's what we're going to see here. In fact, the clips are from multiple different times of running away, and we'll see their thoughts on, why they feel like they're running away. That's going to be interesting to take a look at, and what I know about why people run away and how this gets resolved in the end. This is the part of the program where things change for them. It gets really bad, but then it gets good. So this is going to be fun. Let's take a look.
Nicholeen believes a good education is essential for every teen to fulfill their potential.
I don't want to learn about maths and English. I don't want to learn science.
I understand that. You're acting like you know what my plan is for the day, which I think you don't. Homeschooling is about learning whatever you want. Did you know that? So here we go, and I'll just do it with you both together. Are you planning on going to, Hannah?
Yeah. The thing is, we're not little kids.
Yeah. No, I know you're not little kids.
We're 17 years old, and you're treating us like we're 10-year-olds.
The thing about...
How am I acting like a 3-year-old? At the end of the day, I'm 17-year-old. I can look after myself.
Okay, talk calmly.
No, because I'm sick of being treated like a little kid when I'm not a little kid. Do I look like I'm fucking 10 years old? No. Idiot.
Okay.
Okay, it's really important to note here that the laughing in the background is Hannah. That's not me or anybody else in the family. In fact, we're being calm the whole time. And that bugs them. It especially bugs James at this time. Now, we have to remember James has been doing quite a bit of drugs, and he's been doing some smoking and stuff like that, and he's not getting the opportunity to smoke whenever he wants at our home. And so he really is in a state of withdrawals. And I have total compassion on him because when they run away, what are they going to go do? They're going to go smoke. That's what they're going to do because he's feeling that anxiety that comes because he can't have a smoke. And this brings me to one reason that people do run away. They feel anxiety. They don't know how to handle their problem. They don't have the skills to handle their problem. And so they run away. That's their go-to solution for hopefully making the problem end. And so then they hope to come back to life, and it's as if the problem never happened anymore. And that's one reason that people do choose to run away. So we see Hannah jumping in with him because it's kind of fun that he's getting angry. Even though she sat for a while and she wrote and did studies, it's now time to run. And she knows if he's going to run away that he's going to go have a smoke. And so she probably wants to go have one with him. So she jumps in, even though she was not having any problem doing the homeschooling because our family is a homeschooling family. Anyway, so we see him very angry about feeling like he's being treated in a certain way. He says, I'm not 3 years old. I'm 17 years old. I'm not 10 years old. I'm 17 years old. He feels like he can take care of himself. He feels like he doesn't need someone to teach him anything. This is another thing that's like a block that people get. They start assuming that someone is thinking differently of them than they want them to. And that wasn't the case in our family. Honestly, we were just trying to give them the best of the Peck family, the best that we had, and really bond with them, connect with them. And we know that when you engage in projects like learning together, that can actually be a really neat experience. And that they probably hadn't had that experience before. But he definitely wasn't open to it. Chemically, I don't think he was feeling up to it. And so that was a struggle. Anyway, so we see them run away. Let's see what happens next. Okay.
Colin.
Are they running away, Mom?
Be discussed with them,
Mama, are they running away?
but there's still no trust factor there. Do not chase them.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to.
They want an audience. That's what they're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
If they don't get an audience, hopefully this behavior will stop happening.
Okay, I love that little part when Porter's like, are they running away, Mommy? Are they running away? I'm talking to Spencer. He's definitely interrupting, not at a good time. I wasn't able to talk to him right at that second because Spencer was talking to me, and he did have to wait for a minute to hear my response that yes, they are running away. But he knew. He knew what it was, and he was concerned. London and Porter, Quinn and Paige, they loved James and Hannah. They immediately embraced them and felt like they wanted to get to know them. But they saw some concerning things, and he wanted to know if what he was seeing was right. Then we see Spencer, my husband, saying if they don't get attention for this running away, then maybe they'll stop this bad behavior of running away. And they tried it a number of times. They ran away, like I said, 5 times, but finally they really were getting absolutely zero attention, even no attention from the camera crew. So on this first time that they ran away, they did get some attention. I wasn't with them because I don't follow runaways, but they got some attention from the cameras following them down the road. So that seemed like what they were doing was powerful and cool, and that they would maybe get some awesome kudos from their friends, maybe back in the UK or something. But after a while, even the camera crew said, okay, we're not following them anymore because I think they're just running away just so that they get their own solo camera time, and we're not giving them attention. Because I kept saying, so long as you follow and give them attention, they're going to keep running away. And so they were like, okay. So the last time they didn't, and sure enough, they stopped running away. So let's see where they're going and why they come back and what happens after this.
In England, James and Hannah constantly run away from their problems. But in suburban Utah, they have nowhere to go.
Want to go to a pub, but we know we ain't got no dollars.
And we've got no ID.
We've got no ID. It's
So
stupid though,
if-
because you can't drink in their home, and they won't let you drink because you're only 17, and we're not 21.
In the Peck family, any argument is discussed openly and used as an opportunity to learn.
Porter, how do you feel about Hannah and James running away?
Bad.
I think they're acting like babies. They're being very immature.
Okay. How do you think they should handle the situation?
They should disagree appropriately with you two, and they should take it more calmly.
Okay, so now we see James and Hannah, they run away, but they feel like there's nowhere to go. You know, they said to me when they came back finally, you know, the last time, in fact, they said it multiple times, but things like, it's too far to the town, we don't have any money, it's too hot, we're hungry, you know. So in a 2-day period, they ran away 5 times, but there were just too many obstacles to make that running away anything that could be permanent or fun. And I knew that would be the case. We live a little ways out from the town and things like that, and they would definitely not be used to it. But we then see our family having a little discussion. So what do you think about what's going on? We say to the children, and Porter says, it's bad. You know, I feel like this is bad. So this is type of disconnection with the runaway is not something they're used to feeling in our home. And so he knows it doesn't have the right feeling. It doesn't feel like what our family should be feeling like when somebody's running like that. And he's concerned about them because as a little boy, he would never run off like that, you know. So for him, that seems pretty awful. Quinn, you know, saying it like a 13-year-old says, well, I think they're kind of behaving like babies, you know, and because he has skills. He knows how to handle himself. He knows how to disagree appropriately, accept no answers, accept consequences, follow instructions, all those things that we teach, which you can learn about in the Teaching Self-Government Parenting course that I teach on my website, which is teachingselfgovernment.com. So if you're interested in learning what we do teach our children and why they were able to analyze this stuff, that's a good place to go and look. But you see Paige saying they just need to disagree appropriately and they need to focus on being calm. They've got to learn about that. So they're recognizing that they know more than these 17-year-olds. So it's a little bit ironic because the 17-year-olds are saying, I'm not 3, I'm 17, I can take care of myself. But then what everybody sees immediately after is these younger children, this little boy who's like 4 and 5 years old, because I can't remember if Porter was 4 or 5, but somewhere right there that he's saying, you know, they are being bad right now. That's not the way to do it. And that the 13-year-old and the 11-year-old are saying, you could disagree appropriately, you could be calm, there's a way you could handle this. And, you know, and it's not happening the right way. So it's a little ironic, his reason for running away and then what we see immediately after. All right, so let's look at this next bit then.
Yes.
Can we come back in?
You're asking to come in?
Yeah.
I think so. Come on in.
See.
Hi.
I think they've about gone nuts. They're trying to push all my mom's buttons, and they haven't realized yet that it's not gonna work. I tried this for years. I tried pushing my mom's buttons, and it never worked.
Okay. When I saw this, I had no idea they'd interviewed my son. Of course, they kept, filming my children, interviewing them every which way, but I had no idea that they had had this little conversation with Quinn. And so when I saw that, I just laughed. I thought, when has he tried to push my buttons? He really is an obedient boy, but he is strong-willed. And I thought, well, maybe in his mind, he thought he had tried to push my buttons pretty hard and that it didn't work, that I didn't have buttons. And people started responding to me after that. They were like, how do I not get buttons? You don't have buttons. I don't want buttons. And so people on social media were, making these comments to me, and I would go to conferences and speak, and they would say, okay, I saw your video. I want to not have buttons like you. So tell me what you know. Anyway, kind of fun there to see that reaction, and it definitely made me chuckle as I saw it. That's so fun to look at this. My children are so grown now. As I look at these pictures of them so small, and I think, they're almost all gone from home. Porter is almost 17 and almost ready to leave the nest. And, in like a year probably or so, and everybody else is gone, college, married, all these things. It just blows my mind.
Go inside, please.
Nicholeen has had enough of James and Hannah's behaviour.
Okay, so I need to clarify just on that one statement. It says, Nicholeen's had enough of James and Hannah's behavior. Actually, I did not have enough. I was fine if they wanted to go on the whole time they were at my house. If they wanted to go on like that, I would be okay with it because I had troubled foster teens in my home, and this was nothing compared to what I'd seen. Literally nothing. And I knew that I could last for months and months if I needed to with out of control behavior. So I wasn't completely, done in by this. They tried to add a little bit of drama on there with the narrator. The narrator's comments are not always spot on. So just remember that when you watch the whole thing one day. They say a few things for shock value that aren't exactly accurate. But I was hoping that they would choose to be calm and to follow instructions and just accept that they needed to have other clothes, and I had already told them I would even buy them other things, and so I wanted them to take that option and choose to accept it. So here we go, we're having a discussion. Now this discussion is actually happening after another time that they ran away. So they ran away multiple times. This is now a separate time that they ran away that we're having this discussion.
My kids right now, I think are really disappointed in you guys.
Because of how we dress?
No, because of the way that you're treating them and their parents and their family. They've seen you be very disrespectful and yell at us.
We've said for the past 2 days we're not changing, now we're looking at sticking. I was sticking with him.
The thing is, you could stay out of instructional control for the entire week, but it would be such a bore for everyone to watch.
I'm already bored now, there's nothing to bloody do.
I know, this
I know,
country.
because everything that we were going to do, we can't do. That's why. Because you're out of instructional control. At this point, we can't go back to clothes, okay? At this point, we can't.
We're just stuck in a big fat fucking boat over our appearance. That's what it is.
Exactly. And I want you to look attractive and
I want to
nice,
look attractive. I'm in America.
but still keeping the family standard.
We'll take us shopping. Let's see what you can get us.
So I'm right in assuming then, Hannah, that you would be willing to change your wardrobe for the week, that it covered yourself as long as you liked the look of the clothes. Awesome. Then I think we're at the place we need to be. That really shows that you've chosen to respect me, and that is a great place to be, because then we can start doing things that are not about clothes. Yeah. And that would be really great.
Okay, so this is a huge changing moment. This is them deciding, okay, I really am stuck in this place. So we see me explain to them, hey, I think people are feeling kind of sad about some of your behavior. And they saw the sadness from the children as they walked through. The kids were, giving them looks like, I'm sorry, like, why are you doing this, right? And they could feel that, so I decided that I would express that to them. And they're like, why? Because of our clothes? And in their mind, they kept going back to their clothes again and again and again. But I wasn't going to talk about clothes, because the clothes were not the issue. In their mind, the clothes was the issue. But in my mind, the calmness, the ability to communicate, the ability to follow an instruction or accept a no answer, that was the issue. If we can't get to a place of calmness and where we can even discuss and have a productive problem-solving session, then we're never going to get anywhere. And that has nothing to do with clothes. And so you see me I keep talking to them about getting calm, because they've lost all their privileges at this point. So we went through something called the rule of 3. They have to still accept that consequence, and you see that later on in the show, things that they do to accept that consequence. They do some ranch work and stuff like that, because they have a whole day of maintenance that they've earned because they went out of control. But they earned that on day 1, and so now here we are on day 2, and they are, choosing finally to stop with this thing in their minds about the clothes and choose to be calm. It was like finally they saw the point. Listen, we have fun things that are planned, I said, but we really can't do any of them if you're out of control. So I'm not the kind of person that's going to just carry on with fun activities when my children are completely out of control. And that's a principle that I stand to, and that's a principle that I stand by. So I just explained that to them, and finally they went, this lady's serious. Because I was serious. I wasn't bending because of their tantrums. We do see them talking back to me again and again, and instead of me engaging in talk back, I keep pointing the conversation back toward getting calm, back toward being willing to follow an instruction, the skills that I had taught them on the very first day. And if you've missed that first day reaction video, you'll want to go and see some of those first day reaction videos, because you see me lay the ground rules for them, and I talk about the things that we shared with them. So they know what I'm doing. They know I'm definitely going to be consistent no matter what. So sometimes children run away, but you know what? If you handle it correctly, they stop running away. After 5 times of running away, Hannah and James did not run away again, and we ended up having a great time with them for those other 6.5 days that they were at our house. If you've enjoyed this video, I'm pretty sure you'll like the other reaction videos that I've done about different segments of the world's strictest parents, so definitely go and find those. But I also think you might enjoy a video called How to Teach Kids to Respect Their Parents, because Hannah and James definitely had to learn that, and maybe that could help some of the people in your life too. Click on the link and we'll see you there.